Falling in love was the last thing I had on my mind.
I've got the absolute pleasure of talking about one of my favourite supervisors of all time, Ron Sturgeon. There's 4 things that I can remember clearly about my experiences with Ron. First thing was when I used to play for Chandler Park on a Friday night, Ron was by far the toughest referee that we came across. Never did he let anything go without making a call. It was very quick to stamp out any poor behaviour. We loved it when Ron refed our games. The second thing is, I'll never forget the game where I was supervising and Ron was refereeing the 18A boys final, and Ron called me down to the court to let me know that someone had thrown something at him. It hit him in the back of the leg. As it turned out, I think Ron did his hamstring, and that may have been the last domestic game he ever refereed. I'll never forget as well the person that came on to replace him was Brad Farrell, who had to chase down the court and let him know that in the final he was wearing a pair of sunnies on his head while he's reffing. The third thing is, one thing I was always very thankful of is Ron was for his support as a supervisor, something I've tried to carry forward with the way I do the job today. Friday night I was doing the bench duty, and the last few minutes of the game it got a bit heated, and the parent from Basin actually stole the score box off me and wouldn't let me stop the clock. It was great that Ron was standing behind me and helped get the box back and put him in his place. The fourth and final thing, the best memory about Ron was in the back of his old white panel van on the last Friday of the year. Ron would always put on a home brew for all the referees who'd done games during the season. Something I guess that we can't do anymore, but for me at the time, I thought it was fantastic. It helped breed a really good culture with the referees, and everybody respected Ron. Ron, thanks for your efforts, mate. I hope you enjoy your evening.
Hi, I'm Christy Forrest, and I've been asked to speak about Ron Sturgeon today. I haven't umpired basketball for over 10 years, but I still have very distinct memories of Ron, both from the perspective of a player and a referee. When I was a little girl playing for Belgrave Bandits, I remember him umpiring our games. You never got away with a thing, and he was onto your every move, and you knew your game was going to be umpired properly. And when I became an umpire myself, I remember Ron as being incredibly encouraging, very professional and very, very tough. He encouraged us to make our calls and stand by them, but always to take the game seriously and to do our best. I have some very interesting memories of Sunday night umpiring with Ron in some pretty tough games. And congratulations, Ron, being a life member, and all the best. Cheers.
I've been asked to talk about my husband, Ron Sturgeon, and his influence on me as a referee in Knox Basketball Association. I think that's a bit difficult because obviously as a loving husband and a very smart man, Ron knew when to keep his mouth shut, but he was also a real positive support to me. Now, as far as the other referees and the association in general are concerned, I think most of you would agree that his contribution over the years was not only useful, but really, really positive, and that most of you today owe a little something to what Ron did for you in the past.
Yeah, Ron, what kept you refereeing at Knox for so long?
Just the group of people that were involved with the association and the enjoyment that I got from refereeing with the crew and seeing people improve their basketball.
When you were identifying referees for future development, what qualities were you looking for in those referees?
Somebody that would call the game fairly strongly and stand by their convictions of their calls.
And what was the toughest situation you were ever in during a game?
Toughest situation. It was a old man's game, Sunday night. I ejected a player, and as the player walked out, he had pretty good ball handling skills, and he fired the ball from down here with the flick of the wrist. And in those days I had a little bit more hair than I've got now, stood up a bit, They just brushed the top of my head because I've managed to get my head down. That was the toughest one.
Very good.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
And we've also got something for Ron as well.
Thanks, mate. Thank you very much.
Yep, got it right.